Sasayama rolled his eyes. That thing again? Kano ignored him, flipping through the notepad pages. Aha! Here it is. Dick Dictum number 89? What the heck does that mean? The more irrelevant something seems, the more relevant it is bound to be. It was a favorite saying of Kazuyo Tateno, an assistant inspector from Shibuya precinct. Tateno was the kind of detective Kano aspired to be. For the current operation, he had been placed in charge of Hitomi's personal safety. He was in position to defend her as soon as the ransom had been handed off. Of course, Hitomi hadn't been informed of how much protection she was under. There was a risk that if she acted too secure, it might alert the kidnapper. I think Tateno has the right idea. Sasayama snorted quietly. Maybe. I think he's a great detective. Don't get me wrong. But do you know how many irrelevant things there are to consider? Again, Kano ignored him. Didn't matter if nobody else understood. Kano had faith in Tateno, as both a detective and as an individual. He had first witnessed Tateno's brilliance during a standoff at a financial company 3 years earlier. Wow, this introduction is really slow. A man had shut himself in an office, splashing gasoline everywhere and threatening to set the place ablaze. While the others hesitated, Tateno unflinchingly doused himself with gasoline and strode into the building, where he managed to talk the man down and secure the scene. What the hell? The others had been awestruck by Tateno's actions, and Kano, who at the time had been content to be a run-of-the-mill policeman, had found it quite inspiring. Still, Sasayama murmured under his breath. As a great detective as Tateno is, it's not like anyone else in the world has ever heard of him. Suppose not, Kano said. So, only time anyone ever hears a cop's name is if he's caught up in some scandal or killed in the line of duty. I mean, doesn't really seem fair, does it? Kano just shrugged. It was a strange definition of unfair, really. I mean, you've got celebrity chefs and celebrity hairdressers and stuff. So how come no celebrity gumshoes? Well, it's because you gotta keep a low profile. Look, please. Can you just focus on what we're doing here? Kana rubbed his eyes, then turned his attention back to Hitomi. Look, please, Oh, what's the matter? Didn't sleep? Not enough, I guess. Did you eat? Didn't have time. Between bringing in supplies for the base of operations, readying the team's vehicles. Base of operations is usually set up in a large room at the precinct, such as an auditorium. MPD and precinct investigators assemble there, and communications equipment, investigation resources, and such are brought in. Because of the scale of the scope of the activities, of the scale and scope of these activities, newspaper reporters can be liable to notice, and so in cases such as kidnapping, where a victim's personal safety is at stake, the flow of information is tightly controlled. Photocopying hundreds of documents and various other tasks. Kano had barely slept the previous night and hadn't gotten a meal in either. What have you been doing? Sasayama puffed out his chest. Saving up my energy for today. So you were sleeping. Kano gave a wry chuckle at his partner's lack of shame. There he is! Uze's voice chirped suddenly through Kano's earpiece. A man in his 20s, wearing a sleeveless red jacket. So, not the middle-aged man that she mentioned, but it still could be the one who's doing the swap. He's carrying a garbage bag. A young man had emerged from the crowd about 15 feet where Hitomi was standing. He strode toward her, a sinister look on his face. He didn't match Hitomi's description, but Kano felt a jolt of nerves all the same. Maybe the kidnapper had hired some young street punk to snatch the ransom payment. Yes, that's probably what he did. That our guy? What do you think, Kano? Sasayama whispered. Yeah, I think he's gotta be. This was it. Kano swallowed the lump in his throat. He bent his knees, ready to act fast. Is there some sort of minigame involved in this? Blood rushed to his leg muscles, banishing the stiffness that had begun to take hold. Could this be the culprit? Or perhaps... The young man tried to snatch the briefcase from Hitomi, but she clung to it with desperate strength. It was him! The detective rushed in. Whoa, hey, what the hell? The young man cried out frantically and tried to dart away, but the officers closed in, forcing him bodily to the ground. Target secured. Oh jeez, I think we've got another suspect on the scene. He's taken the ransom. Kuze's hysterics had made Kano spin around. Sure enough, a foreign-looking man was sprinting away, a touchy case in hand. The mob of detectives scrambled to pursue. Before Kano could react, most of them had run off, leaving him to look after the original suspect. Ya got duped. The old distraction plan. What should I do with this guy, sir? Might have some connection to the kidnapper. Should I bring him in? Huh? Oh, sure, that'd be swell. I'm on it. With the help of one of the remaining detectives, Kano brought the suspect back to the Shibuya precinct. Look, how many times do we have to go through this? Cut the crap. In the interrogation room, the young man, who gave his name as Achu Endo, steadfastly insisted on his innocence. Why'd you try to steal the case? That case? Kano watched Achi's face intently. Like I said, it looked heavy, so I was just trying to help her out. It wasn't inconceivable that a young guy would want to help a pretty girl. But Hitomi had just been standing there, hardly in desperate need of assistance. She hadn't set the case down, so I figured there had to be something important inside. An entry from Kano's diary shot through his mind. Dick-dictum, dick-dictum. When the tongue slips, grab it and yank out the truth. Classic advice for questioning. Something unimportant, you say, such as, how the heck would I know? Achi spat. He huffed and slumped back in his chair. This standard textbook back and forth had been going on for nearly an hour. Kano didn't mind. Chasing down criminals was all well and good, but questioning the suspects was another key part of the job. Plenty of off-the-scene work went into cracking the case. Once again, he had Achi explain what he'd been doing, starting from the very beginning. When Kano finally emerged from the interrogation room for a short break, he learned that there had been some progress on the case at the crime scene. What the police hadn't been able to determine yet was whether or not Maria was safe. Fighting back his anxiety, Kano consulted his diary. Dictum number 54. Haste makes waste. He felt his tension subside, remembering the right maxim always helped. It was like casting a magic spell. Kano returned to confront Achi once more. You were there to act as a distraction, to mess up the investigation, weren't you? Huh? Achi looked a bit dumbfounded. What are you on about? The truth hungers to be free. You hungry? Got some katsudon if you like. Rice, pork, and egg. Apparently it's a bad thing to bait with food. It looked like he hadn't eaten in a while. Alright then, spill it. What's this guy after? I don't know. How many accomplices do you have? Kano flipped through his notebook once more. Let's see, number 115. Use the light to your advantage. As the minutes ticked past, he found himself referring to his book again and again, trying a dozen different methods to tease out whatever his suspect might be hiding. The experience began to feel strangely surreal, their two voices echoing hollowly in the interrogation room. Eventually, Kano looked at the clock and realized that the questioning had been going on for nearly 5 hours. He still hadn't made any headway. What was he supposed to do next? Tenno would know, but he sure didn't. Still, he was determined to do whatever he could to keep the victim and her family safe. Gritting his teeth in frustration, he pursued the tick diary like it was scripture. 116. The monotonous questioning was clearly tiring Achi out. His eyelids drooped like they were beginning to get heavy. Number 117. Get them when they're tired. Connor's eyes gleamed. You're part of some criminal gang, huh? Mr. Kuzi, I did it. He's part of a gang. Are you kidding me right now? You're dumb, you know that? The young guy we grabbed at the handoff site. He finally confessed to the crime. Shut up. You are acting super dumb right now. What? What are you talking about? Kuzi laughed in disbelief. What? Is this a joke of some sort? We're just about to apprehend the mastermind here. Are we talking about the guy right next to us or the other guy who was at the scene? Huh? Kana clutched his cell phone, dumbstruck. Listen, why don't you, oh, what? Look, just wait there at HQ, okay? No. It can't be. I... Okay, so now I'm assuming they caught the other guy, and he was the culprit. After the kidnapping case wrapped up, Kano tendered his resignation. Okay then. Guess I'm not cut out to be a detective after all, he thought to himself. He dropped the diary on his desk, and as he left the Shibuya precinct for the last time. Wow, that's a sort of an overreaction, isn't it? Wait, bad ends? Excuse me? Kano would wound up at a bad end. However, this does not mean that the choice you made for Kano was the wrong one. One of the other protagonists, Achi Endo, has an impact on Kano's fate here. You can avoid a bad end by making proper decisions. In another character's story, for a detailed hint, check the tip by underlining the bad end title, press tab and space. Kano had every reason to suspect Achi Endo, but arresting him turned out to be a mistake. If Achi hadn't approached Hitomi, this wouldn't have happened. Try playing Achi's story up to 10:30 and make a choice that keeps him from going up to her. If you do that, Kano won't even have a chance to arrest him, and things should play out differently. So you're forced to get a bad ending at the beginning, just like in Zero Escape. You can now select Achiendo, one of the other protagonists. Let's follow Achi's story for a little while. Ooh, what's going on here? Getting dressed scene. Achiendo called out at the door to his father's room. Okay, I'm heading out. Sure. Father sounded unconcerned. He didn't even open the door. Sure you don't want me to stay in here in the shop? Not like we're gonna get any customers. Achi grimaced. Yeah, I guess not. The drawer by the front door held a stack of heavy-duty trash bags. Achi pulled a few of them out. Guess it's not gonna be that kind of day. He stuffed the trash bags into his pocket, then slipped on his favorite pair of sneakers. The entryway to Achi's home also led into the family shop. Various pieces of electronics were piled up like so much junk in the tiny retail space. The slightest bump brought the risk of an avalanche. Achi wove his way through the gaps in the appliances like a spelunker exploring a cave. From Shibuya Station, if you make your way past the 109 building, then up through Dogenzaka, you'll come across an old shopping district. Nestled in its outskirts is Endo Electronics, in the same place it's been for decades. Within its dimly lit interior, you'll find rows of wares all caked in dust. At a glance, you might as well assume the place was closed. A mom-and-pop place like Endo's couldn't compete with the bigger consumer chains booming throughout Shibuya. So far, the store had remained in business thanks to locals who appreciated that they made house calls to do repairs. But things weren't looking good for the future. Hachi, the eldest son and nominal successor to the business, had no interest whatsoever in working there. Hachi stepped out of the shop and into the sunny morning air. The good weather lifted his spirits. Alrighty, time to do this. He unfurled one of the big garbage bags which caught the wind and fluttered like a cape. Then he slowly made his way towards Shibuya Station, scanning its surroundings all the while. Sheesh, this place is filthy. He paused to pick up a plastic bottle that had been tossed on the ground. With a heavy sigh, he slipped the crushed receptacle into his trash bag. He had been picking up trash around town like this for about 6 months now. It had gotten so that the sort of garbage most people would hardly notice stood out to him like a sore thumb. Most days he filled his trash bag to the top by the time he made it from his house in Dogenzaka to the train station. Today he was halfway to the station when a woman's anxious voice caught his attention. "I'm sorry. I'm in a bit of a hurry here." He looked up and saw a timid-looking woman being confronted by 2 men, one with brown hair, one with black. From the look of them, he guessed that the men were scouts for some hostess club. He ran into this sort of thing pretty frequently on his trash cleaning walks around town. Another kind of trash to take care of. Hachi quickly interposed himself between the girl and the 2 recruiters. "Hey, can't you see that you're bothering her?" Who the hell are you?" The 2 men glared. "Take a hike, pal." Hachi stood his ground. "Look, she ain't interested. You're just gonna have to find some other mark." The hustler's annoyance turned to open rage. Well, listen to you. Got a bit of a mouth, huh, buddy?" The brown-haired thug smacked his lips around his chewing gum like a dog worrying about a bone. "How about we take this someplace more quiet, yeah?" What this means can depend on the person speaking. To a young woman, "Let's go someplace more quiet" might suggest a cafe or a park, but to a street punk it might mean an alley where passerbys are unlikely to interrupt.